Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, Chapter 30, and it's basically a setup chapter. I feel like a lot of Fairy Tail chapters are setup chapters, but this one is very much a setup chapter. It's basically just getting all the pieces and people where they need to be, so that in the next following chapters, some real stuff can happen, whether it be battles or plot advancement and whatnot, but it's really just a setup chapter overall. And what it is setting up is basically Battle of Fairy Tail Part 2. Really, it's just basically so Natsu and the gang, Natsu, Urza, Lucy, Gray, Juvia, Wendy, and the cats are basically going to have to fight their friends, and it's being set up in a very similar situation as the Battle of Fairy Tail from the original series, where basically everybody had to fight each other, and that's basically what's going on here. Only this time, for some reason, Jalal is part of it, but whatever. So the beginning of the chapter is Natsu racing off because he's super gung-ho about taking on everybody he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Gajeel, he's gonna fight Mira, he's gonna fight, I don't even know. He's gonna fight everybody he wants to fight. People won't fight everybody because some of them don't even cross his path. But he is definitely on his way to basically do what he always does and just fight as many people as he possibly can. Everybody else just races off. They have a mission themselves now. They gotta protect these orbs. They basically just take off and try to splinter off into... Right now there's 4 orbs left. Or currently 4 orbs. I forget whether they smashed one of them. It doesn't matter. The team is now being divided up into those 4 areas so that they can go protect them from the brainwashed Fairy Tail members. One thing to note about this is that Juvia, despite now having like kind of her consciousness back, she's on their side, she's a good guy again. However, she doesn't have, at least she doesn't have full range of her magic. It seems like she maybe has no magic access to her at all. Or at the very least, she doesn't want to use the magic because there's some weird tricky stuff, like her body and her mind are her own, but her magic's still being controlled by Toka. So it's clear that even if they save people by knocking them out and getting them onto their side again, they're not really going to have much of a driving force to fight against Toka, because she'll still have control over their magic in some way. And I hate to say it, but that's probably the most interesting little tidbit out of this chapter, because everything else is just a rehash or a remix of Battle at Fairy Tail. You've got Gray up against the Thunder Legion, and Loxus is not anywhere to be seen, but I could imagine him suddenly showing up. He might be somewhere else, but he's typically with the Thunder Legion, so maybe they'll show back up. Gray in the Battle at Fairy Tail fought against Bixlow, so now they're kind of doing some revenge battling, I guess. I honestly don't see Gray like getting defeated. He's got access to his Devil Slayer magic, so he's way more beefy. In fact, all of them are beefier than they once were. So there's definitely going to be some differences, I hope, to these battles, but I don't see him losing this time at the very least. Lucy runs into Mira, Elfman, and Lizana, and they make a pretty good point. So first of all, if she had just run into Elfman and Lizana, fine, like they're tough customers, but they're manageable. But Mira is a really, really difficult person to fight, even just sparring. So having her go full force, it's going to be a real tough battle. And even like, so Lucy summons Loki and Virgo, and in 2 separate interactions, they basically say, we could try, but I don't know I don't know about this. I don't think this is going to work. So definitely there's going to be some real toughness. I see maybe somebody coming and saving her, which is sad because Lucy is like traditionally kind of weak in that sense, and that's fine, but like it would be nice to see her kind of have a more triumphant battle, I guess, rather than her just kind of skirting through. But we shall see. Natsu ends up running into Makao, Wakaba, and Romeo, and of course, they get knocked out pretty easily. First of all, he's super strong anyways. Second of all, the 3 of them, while they put up some good fights, are not exactly the strongest members of Fairy Tail. So there was never going to be a way for them to actually win against any of the remaining Fairy Tail members that are of sound mind. So yeah, I honestly am not surprised that they did some like at least a couple of panels of like somebody taking out weak characters, because there's a lot of Fairy Tail members that just don't have it, and you give them a few moments of screen time at the very least. Now, somebody that Natsu is going to have a tough time against is Gajeel, and presumably Levy's with him somewhere, because she was with him when like the like brainwashed members were like being sent out. So presumably she's somewhere. But it's definitely going to be a really interesting battle, because I feel like the last time they actually fought each other was when what was the Phantom Lord, back when like Gajeel and Juvia were part of the Phantom Lord guild. This is going to be a really interesting battle, because on one hand, Gajeel has his Shadow Iron Dragon magic or whatever, and then Natsu has his, I think he's still got the Lightning Dragon, the Lightning Fire Dragon magic. Now that they've kind of, this is the one of the instances where like they are much stronger than they once were. So if those battles are pretty interesting, this will be pretty cool too. But beyond that, I feel like it's a superficial thing, because it's like, of course, Fairy Tail is eventually going to get over this. It's one of those things where it's kind of just a spectacle and like visually appealing, but like ultimately I know that Fairy Tail's going to be fine. Meanwhile, we didn't get to see Urza or Wendy, but I imagine that Urza will run into Jalal or something like that. Or honestly, maybe they'll flip the script and have Wendy run into Jalal, and Urza will be off fighting, I don't even know, maybe the Master or something, because they did show him. And one thing I will say about him is he seemed to have a different, like, he seemed to have a serious look in his eyes, but I feel like they made a point to show him on his own. Like, it seems like maybe he'd be like, he's not fully turned, or he's like fighting it better than the rest of the guild. So I could see it being kind of the kind of thing where he runs into Urza, and then she kind of has to fight him, which would be really cool, honestly. And very quickly, he kind of turns back to normal and kind of has to join up with like Juvia and like try to get people back onto their side without fighting per se. Those are kind of like some matchups that I think would be more interesting than what they might end up actually doing. Like, if it is Urza versus Jalal, fine, but it's kind of a boring setup, because then you just have like Urza for like whatever amount of time being like, Jalal, get back to your senses, blah 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 blah, and then there's like a cry fest. I think it would be more interesting if Urza runs into somebody else like the Master, and then maybe Wendy runs into Jalal. That's just my 2 cents, though. Overall, this chapter, there's not much to it other than, again, setting up, because it's not like there was anything, like, crazy that happened. The reveals were in the last chapter and the chapter before that, so it's like, this was kind of like a weird middle ground, and they really just wanted to set up, like, okay, Lucy's up against Mira, Elfman, and Lizana, Natsu's up against Gajeel, and Gray's up against the Thunder Legion, leaving just a couple of people to set up for next chapter or something like that. So they really just kind of use this just to get it all out there and whatever, and that's fine. But again, they're setting up kind of like a redo of something that they've already done for Fairy Tail, so I don't know how I feel about that entirely. It wasn't a bad chapter per se. There was nothing that like was so offensive to me that I thought like, oh well, I don't like that. But I will hold my full applause or jeering or whatever until I see how these battles go through. I will say that I like the new stuff way more. The Juvia not having her magic because of Toka still having a grasp on it is more interesting than, oh, Gray's gonna fight Bixlo again, or oh, Lucy has to go up against Mira Jane, how is she gonna beat her? So it's definitely like the newer stuff that they need to protect the crystals for Aldron. That is way more interesting because it's fresh and new than, oh, they're just gonna battle each other again. Especially when you know that Fairy Tail will be fine in the end no matter what. So it's like, I don't know. It's just it's a weird chapter, I guess, for me. I'm kind of caught in the middle of it. But yeah, those are my thoughts, I guess. What did you guys think about this chapter? Let me know down below in the comments section. Overall, are you excited about what's going to come to us in the following chapters? There's definitely good times to be had. Natsu versus Gajeel could be really exciting. And honestly, even like, I don't know, even if Gray and Loxus go against each other, that could be really cool too, and it would be a fresh matchup that I don't think we've ever had. So that could be really cool. But otherwise, let me know what you guys are thinking about this particular chapter, where things are going. Let me know down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you'll get all the notifications when I upload. I will see you guys in another video. See you later.